Yeah, I'm gonna give Daddy a kiss. Daisy would be happy you started it this way. Yes. You know, Diesel's story is so special, and before I got Diesel, I wasn't sure if I would ever get myself another dog, save a dog, rescue dog. Before Diesel, I had a dog, and her name was Gia, and unfortunately, Gia was stolen, and to this day, I still don't know her story or what happened to her. And that is and was very difficult to live with. And it took a lot of time to even move past considering potentially getting myself another dog. And in 2014, this beautiful little fawn brown boy just made his way into my heart. And you think you're rescuing and adopting to save them because he didn't have a good story, and in reality it was quite the opposite. He was saving and rescuing me, and he became my number two. He became my best friend, my companion, my love, and he was with me every day. He grew up in the business that I own, and which is a health and wellness business. And if I was running a mile, he ran a mile. If I was at the gym, he was at the gym. And a lot of his upbringing was that life, and that was a great beginning for him. And over the span of the next 7 years, he endured everything with me through major life changes, tough breakups, moving countless times. The one thing that was constant was his growing and absolutely unconditional love. And that was an anchor in my life. 2018, our family grew, and he got a sister in Mila Rose, the sweetest little girl ever. And after 2 weeks, he finally accepted and gave his unconditional love to her too. And their bond will forever be something that I hold sacred in my heart. In the spring of 2021, Dee's got what looked like an infection on his paw. It looked like a bee had stung him or something. His paw was rather swollen, and I took him to the vet, and I didn't think anything of it. I thought, okay, springtime, pollen, a bug bit him, he got stung by a bee. And I remember the vet calling me a few days later that there were irregularities in his blood work, and they wanted to run more tests. And I said, of course. So this was about a week before I was going on vacation with Deez and Mila, and they did some special tests, ran some blood work. And I remember I had them in my car, and I was about 10 minutes out from the destination when the vet called me with the news. And he had said that the test came back positive for acute leukemia. He had already had it, doesn't know for how long he's had it, and he has less than 60 days left to live. And I'm pulled over on the side of the road, just frozen, gutted, shocked, and him and Milo in the back seat. I collect myself to get to the destination, and I'm numb, and I'm immediately jump into doing some research and reading about it, and trying not to be swallowed up by the thoughts and feels and emotions, everything that was coming my way. The next day, Diesel and I went on a hike, and he dragged me 6 miles up and down a mountain. And during that hike as well, I remember just training my mindset that he can overcome these odds. He can beat these odds. And I just would speak with such a belief and such a certainty up and down this mountain as I'd look at him. And shortly when we got back, a few days later, I'm immediately jumping into what to do. And part of the process was to see an oncology team. So I made an appointment, I think a few weeks later or a week later or so, and they run more tests and give me these scenarios of what to do. And of course they were just extensive and enduring, and the odds weren't good. And you know, I remember framing this team that we have a certain belief that we can overcome this and beat this, and I need you to be on my team with that mindset. And they were, and we began his treatment, and I'm so just honored to share that he was a miracle boy. 1 week after his treatment, his cancer cells went from 60,000 to 200. 3 weeks later, he was cancer-free and in remission. Unheard of. They were just shocked and blown away. And for the next 7 months, we had weekly or bi-weekly or monthly trips up 45 minutes north to his oncology team, who they grew to love him so dearly, whether it was checkups, monitoring, or maintaining. And for a good stretch there, 6 months, the miracle boy was beating the odds. And we were in maintenance mode, and we were feeling good. It wasn't until a regression came back pretty strong, the cancer from his bones, in January, and he eventually would lose that battle. Yeah. You know, losing someone and something you love is quite possibly the hardest thing I think a human can go through when your love is like that. And it still is. And as sad as it is to lose, the gift is in the life you lived and shared. And what's beautiful about what we're doing is I could go on and on about his story and his journey of overcoming. The message about living in a state of defiance. When the odds are stacked against you and you channel that state of defiance against your fear, against the odds, the limitations, the people who tell you that there's limits. And he just was such an amazing representation of that, and honored and carried that and taught that and lived that. I'll never forget that. You know, so my hope is that his story can inspire and push good and love out into this world. And if there are people who can draw anything from it, it's the message that strength comes from within. So I appreciate you taking the time to watch and listen about Deez's story. And if you are interested in supporting something above ourselves, we have created a shirt, and there's a couple different variations, shirt and tank, and the message is defy the odds, strength comes from within. And there's a couple different styles and flavors for varying people's preferences. And what we decided to do is partner up with Out of the Pits, and all of the proceeds, all of the money that we make from these shirts, we are giving all of that to Out of the Pits, which is where Diesel and Mila were both rescued and adopted from. Come here. Yeah. You hear Daddy talking about you? And what's so great is, I know. What's so great about them is they're an entirely nonprofit organization, meaning all the money goes towards the animals, whether that's vet care, medical supplies, food, major surgeries, everything in between. It's an organization that I believe is one of the longest standing in the United States, who's doing good in this world to help facilitate and change the narrative around the breed of the pit bull, which clearly you can see. This is the heart dog. You sweet girl. So if that is something that you would love to participate in, no pressure. It's what this whole theme is tied to, is Dee's story and doing some good in helping out the organization where he came from, and all the amazing work that those human beings are doing to support beautiful, loving animals who give us nothing but unconditional love.